And so that's what I tell young guys. I'm like, dude, just be as useful or, as you can, and, show up as capable as possible in those woods. And it might even involve camping. Just go out and try your gear out, go spend 2 nights out in any woods. It doesn't matter what the woods are, because you're going to find the holes in your gear list. When you're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I did that. I didn't do that my first year because I was so green into things, but into those years following that, like, you have to practice with your gear, like taking your tent out of the box, at the truck, at the trailhead or whatever, is probably not the best thing to be doing, especially because the thing could be broken or missing pieces. But definitely try out your gear. I think I usually start my first pack right around 4th of July. I'll start packing then. Just like, I've been doing it for so long, so I don't necessarily have to do it, but I still find ways to like optimize the gear, see what fits a little bit better. Or every year while I'm out hunting, I have everybody has a phone, right? We always carry a phone, so I have a running list. So like in the moment, if I think about it, I think like I add a note like, this thing sucks, or next year get a better sleeping pad. Like I make the notes as I go. So I guess that's another little tidbit that I've done before. Make the notes while you think about it.
That's kind of where Ruckless was. That's why we're making the app, right? I mean, that's the whole idea, is that we can be a resource for guys like you and myself. I mean, it came out of me being an idiot, and forgetting stuff, right? And I was like, I just need to be better. And also, it seems like no matter how good you do, every year you kind of come back in, like you said, July 4th, you start to look at your pack and you go, okay, what am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting something. And it never fails. You get to the trailhead, you're like, I know I'm forgetting. It's just, you might not, but it's just that stress, that anxiety of having that. So I go through that too, but that's why that's not to plug Ruckless. I guess that's what we're supposed to be doing. It's not a commercial, though. I mean, it's just real. It's like, it's why we're doing it, because it was a major, kind of thing for me, is going, that whole kind of like optimizing the gear for the hunt. So that's when you leave, you have confidence, because there's so many other question marks when you leave the trailhead, right? It's like the last thing you want to be thinking about is your gear.
Robin Hood and Little John are walking through the forest, laughing back and forth at what the other.
Ruckless podcast. We've got Ben Wellens on today. Did I pronounce that right?
Yep, that's correct. Ben
Wellens. Right. Ben Wellens on. He's a hunter from out in the Midwest. We don't know you at all, Ben, and it's fun to have you on and just kind of get to know what you're about. Saw you on Instagram. You're up to some cool stuff. I love that you're kind of a Midwest guy coming out to hunt elk once in a while and doing the Western thing. And I think we'll touch a little bit on that perspective, man. But tell us who you are. Tell us where you're at. Kind of what you're about. Like, we know you hunt. We see what you do on Instagram, but what's your day look like outside of that? And you've got a couple kids running around the house right now. And you're a real person with real kids and a real life, and just fill us in on what you're up to, and then we'll talk some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, first of all, just thanks again for having me on. This is I love talking about this stuff. Love meeting people. But for me, Ben Wellens, born and raised in Wisconsin. May sound kind of cliche, but raised on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. So right there with the dairy state type of things. Husband to Jenny. She's a high school sweetheart. We got 2 boys, almost 3 and almost 5. And by day, I'm a test engineer in the automotive and defense world. So that keeps me busy during the day. And then outside of that, pretty much addicted to just about anything archery related, outdoors, hunting, all those type of things, and all the adventures that go along with that. Like you said, Midwest based also. Try to get out west a couple times per year. I got a little archery shop here at the house, so it's kind of like my side gig. Love tuning, tinkering, helping friends out, things along those lines. And then how you guys met me, I kind of try to document all that stuff and post it up on the different socials. Everything goes under Midwest Mountain Outdoors. Kind of a play on words, because there's certainly no mountains in Wisconsin or in the Midwest, but try to tackle both of those things as much as I can.
Yeah.
I love that,
man. Yeah. Tyrel, how's your sound with Ben? So cool, man. So Midwest Mountain Outdoors. I love the kind of the play on words there.
Yep.
Dude, tell me how you got into tuning bows, because that's something that I've always been intimidated by. It's not my personality. I mean, it sounds like you're in some sort of engineering or something like that with your job. I'm not.
So if you don't mind, I'll take it the long way around. But
Please.
so I'm a test engineer, like I said, in the automotive world. But prior to that, I was a motorcycle technician. I went back to college when I was mid to late 20s. So motorcycle tech, so always tinkering and tuning bikes and quads and dirt bikes, things along those lines. And then doing that at the shop, I was also doing that at my home. I was working on that stuff on the side too, just for fun. As my years progress, got real heavily into archery and just kind of naturally started tinkering and tuning with those things. Right in that 2018, 2019 realm was when I was like, I'm gonna finally do this myself and get start investing in that equipment. And kind of figuring those things out. I'm like, man, if I can rebuild just about any dirt bike or quad engine that exists out there, I think I can figure out this bow with two cams and a couple strings, and just kind of dove down into that and kind of figured out as I go. Well, nowadays there's so many resources out there to see, really just about anything that's out there. You can see the different ways of tuning things along those lines, but. So having a lot of fun with that.
Tune as well.
What was that?
Good, I said they're getting easier to tune as well, right?
Oh yeah, getting easier to tune, and just the bows themselves. I mean, they're a machine just like anything else. And if you can get all that stuff into spec, sometimes it's more on the lines of tuning the user for those type of things.
Yeah. I definitely feel that, man. So tell us, you've got the archery shop. So I'm thinking engineer, but tell me a little bit about like what your job is, what your work life look like.
Yeah, so I'm an engineer. I work it's a big defense company, but they're a big automotive world too. So actually, I'm a mechanical engineer, but my day to day is we're all involved with high voltage batteries, electronics. Those type of things, and I got a couple people that work underneath me, but man, the people in my group are awesome and way more experience on the electrical side of things than I am. But just a great bunch of guys that I work with, and we deal with everything from full vehicles, big military, couple 100,000-pound vehicles, all the way down to the smallest of electrical components that we have to put through its paces.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm imagining you're sitting there and you're in the building all day long, and all your stuff, like there's a lot of daydreams about getting outside, getting in a tree stand.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty lucky too, because we do get to do a lot of stuff outside. These things have to run through their paces.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily the one that's running these vehicles all around anymore, but we do spend a lot of time outside abusing these things, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Awesome, man.
Good.
Awesome. And then I think we kind of touched it before we started recording, but you've got two kids, two boys. Is that what I hear? Or a boy, girl? What do you got?
Yep, that's correct. So two boys.
Nice.
This March, both of them will be 3 and 5. So those little wild man keep us busy.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, that changes life, doesn't it, man? I mean, and you're right in the mix of it. I think every time I run into a guy, or Tyrel has had to have like me say this so many times, but when I run into men that are kind of a decade behind me, and you've got that 3-year-old and that 5-year-old, and you're married and you're trying to do a good job of being a father, a good job of being a provider, and a good job of being a husband. I've yet to find a guy that goes, no, it's super easy. Everything's fine. I've got it together. It's just never been like, it's just hard. That was the hardest time of life for my wife and I, who I love dearly. We're still together with, which I feel like is a celebration. Our daughter's getting ready to be 17. Our son just turned 14. And it's just, you're right in the mix of it, man. Like they're not off to school yet. So you don't have that midday, like a break. They're just full time and they're all over you. We've got your boy, or one or both of them in the room with you there, which is awesome. I love it.
Yep.
And they're wanting things, he's wanting dad time, and you're giving us some of that, which is huge. But I mean, how have you guys done adjusting to that and kind of making that work? Because it changes your marriage. It changes the way you approach your hobbies and your work and just life in general, man. It's a lot. It's the best thing you'll ever do, I believe, but it's also a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, I don't think anybody can be fully prepared and ready to, dive down this path of fatherhood or parenthood. my wife and I, we had kids, I guess now it's probably more normal, right? We were in our mid to late 30s or mid 30s when we had our kids. But we were two independent, traveling. My wife hunts too. Man, we did so many things together. And obviously we still do, right? But you throw some kids in the mix and you have to figure it out and learn it on the fly. It changes everything. And like I said, so my wife, she's she grew up in that northern part of Wisconsin too, just like me, and grew up hunting and spending a whole lot of time outdoors. So when her and I were, spending a lot of time hunting together, especially just whitetails in the fall, her and I could just go hunting, right? She'd go to her stand, I can go to mine. You throw kids in that mix, and then we have to decide, like, boy, one of us isn't going hunting today. And we've compromised pretty good to make it to where we can both get out. Ton of support from our grandparents, or from my parents, the kids' grandparents, to help us get out. But it definitely, we had to reel our hobbies back in.
You do, and then there's the phase of you get them back for a little bit, and then the kids start to ask to go. Can I go with you? Right?
Yep.
Or you really hope they do, right?
Yeah, and I can tell the interest is already there. The older one, Charlie, we've had him out in the turkey blind a couple times, and both the kids, when we're driving around, getting towards that fall deer season, you hand the binoculars from the back, say, here you go, see if you can find some deer and turkeys, and they're using the binoculars backwards, looking out the window, seeing, they're like, oh, they're just kind of making stuff up, but keeping them engaged into that, let's call it our lifestyle, as much as possible, without being forceful on anything like that, and certainly not pushing anything. And but
I think that's
the weekends that we the weekends that we spend on the farm is just it's easy to spend time up on our farm, and the kids enjoy outside, and it's way easier. You can tell they're more they're just more well-rounded, well-behaved, things like that, when they can be outside playing as much as possible.
Is that where you guys get to hunt mostly? Back home, you have a farm. It's kind of your private land, and what's Wisconsin look like in that way? I've never hunted Wisconsin. I'm assuming it's a lot of family farm type stuff. You're not trying to do the public land thing on your side of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've certainly done a decent amount of public land stuff, especially all the white stuff out west. But back home here, it's all private land stuff that family farm kind of passed down, and so we spend a lot of our time on weekends. We don't live there anymore. We're about an hour and a half south of that now, but my dad still lives on the farm, and we try to get up there and spend as much time there as we can.
Is farming? I mean, that's one of Tyrel's dreams in life, is to be a farmer. But is it tough to kind of make a go as a farmer on that side of the country? I mean, I know out here it has to be really, really big family farms for it to make it work, and so I don't know, is that something you ever thought about going back and working on the family farm, or was that a possibility?
Yeah, I can't lie, there was definitely times that I considered it, but really just the amount of let's say dedication that you need to it is something that at the time I just wouldn't have been able to do that, or wasn't ready for it, or for lack of a better term, wasn't ready for it. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of more, it's the small family farms are kind of going away. It's going into a lot bigger farms. It's kind of the only way to make it work now, I'd say, especially on the dairy side of things, is to be big. You're talking 1,000 head or more on these type of things. But I'm immersed in it, right? Just by proximity. But man, I just could not imagine the overhead, in dollar amounts that these farmers just got to be okay with carrying around all the time, and I'm not okay. I would not be okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, those guys run multi-million-dollar businesses just out of their shirt pocket. I've met a lot of farmers where they just pull their little spiral bound notepad, and they're running $3, $4, $5 million through that little notepad, basically. Like people quite get just how good those farmers are at knowing their numbers, and just really running a whole company out of just a shirt pocket.
Yep, exactly. And I can remember being a little kid with my grandpa, because my grandpa ran the farm and my dad took it over. But I can still remember my grandpa saying, as the farming gets bigger, you just add zeros to both ends of the income and and your expenses.
Yeah.
So back then it's like, what's the difference between 60 and 70? It just means I add a zero on both ends of the dollar spectrum. And now it's not quite that case, but now you're talking millions, just sometimes one piece of equipment. And we had the boys up north this past fall, and we rent out some of our land, so the crop farmers and stuff are coming around, and like you just look and see the combine, a couple semis, a couple people running them, and you're like, yep, there's $7 million probably sitting right out there working right now. And that's a gross estimate, right? But there's a lot of money just sitting there that you use for 2 months out of the year.
It's so insane when you look at those combines stuff. It's like and then you drive up a highway and you see them just like rotting on the side too. And I get that they're older and whatnot, but it's just like, man, if you would have known what you would have had, you could have taken care of that and sold that for so much money,
Yeah, except now you don't have to drive them anymore, right?
Yeah, and then
you just sit in there and push a button and go, right?
We saw one crew come in. Imagine they're just traveling and going in, and it was sweet watching them roll in. It was like past midnight, all their lights, and they just going in, and we went and checked it out like the next morning, and that field's toast. And
that's a different thing. I don't know if they did it out there, but when it's kind of wheat harvest time, those guys will just tour farms and they'll go 6 combines deep, and it's insane.
All lit up in the middle of the night, and it's
cool.
just like a Batman or an Iron Man scene coming through.
It's similar here, just maybe not the mass of crops that come off, like it is on the middle part of the Midwest and eastern side of Colorado and things along those lines, Nebraska and all like that. But it's a similar scale. And go back to farming, like there isn't one person that owns a farm anymore. There's the person that may own the land that rents it out. There's another company that owns all the equipment. There's another company that owns just all the tillage equipment, let alone just the harvesting side of things. It's all pretty well broken up into all these subsets of companies that support each other, I guess.
Right. So, well, cool. So farming up north, that's where we're hunting deer. I liked what the perspective I wanted to get today with you that I thought was unique is anytime I have a guy that's out east hunting whitetail, and then he's coming out west, and then conversely we do the same, right? We get to go out east, and whitetail feels very unfamiliar to us. It does feel like it's easier to go to your side than it is to come here to an extent, right? To just shoot a buck, not that I shouldn't say this, but I'd say it's not that hard. Now there is an entire science behind y'all and creating the habitat for big bucks, and it's a full year-round relationship with those animals, and I know that's the thing Tyrel wants to get into as well. But dude, tell us about kind of that journey from archery hunting, tree stand, and then that draw to go, time to go west. I know why the draw. I mean, I'm going to assume that why the draw's there, but how'd that journey work for you, man? Kind of going like, what's that first step? Because I'm assuming you look out here and you go, where the hell do you even start?
Yeah. And I got super lucky. I'll just say it. I got super lucky. I got some great friends that I grew up with. And any Midwestern guy, any Eastern guy that you talk to, like the dream is to go out west elk hunting, right? That's just the way it is. And I also had that too, but you never really realize like that it's actually possible without spending $5 or $10 grand or waiting 10 years or something along those lines. And two of my good friends, when their family started elk hunting in like 1988. Pretty long. I was born in '88, so I remember that. I remember that number distinctly. That their family kind of started going out west in elk hunting, and it was they made it like an elk camp. So that was my friend's family, and then when my friends were getting out of college, because you can't really just skip all of September when you're in college. As soon as they got out of college, they started going out with their family. And this was archery, so they made it like a little elk camp, and this was Colorado. And I remember, so for 2 years in a row, my buddy Jack was like, "You gotta come, you gotta come, you gotta come." And I'm like, yep, as soon as I'm done with school too, to make that work. So in 2016 was the first time I went out west for elk hunting, archery elk. Man, if I would know, if I would know now what I knew back then.
Yeah. Dude, totally. And we're going to circle back to that without giving away too many spots, kind of where northeast, northwest, southeast.
So in 2016, it was like south central area.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so that was 2016. That was the first year I got out there, and really had no expectations. Didn't really know what to expect. I borrowed a lot of gear. Really didn't invest anything besides just the equipment that I already had. The other guys were like, "Here's a pack you can use. Here's here's all the stuff you can use." Right? For a guy who whitetail hunts and then also like just goes camping, you pretty much got the things you need for a base camp style hunt, right? And that's how all these guys did. It was just like a big base camp. Kind of day hunted. Drove from the truck or just walked off from camp is the kind of style it was. And what an eye-opening experience. I still remember going out there, 2016, was like, my goal is to hear an elk. That's the only goal I had, was to hear an elk. And on day one, I heard an elk. I was like, oh, I'm set. Goal. Checked. And, one guy in our group was successful and got an elk I think it was like the day before we got out there, because these guys, at the time they were retired. They spent the entire month of September out there. Us young kids at the time just rolled in and, come to find out that one of his uncles got an elk the day before. We're like, sweet, roll in, see an elk caped out there and in camp. And it was an awesome experience for the first time out there. And then you're just hooked from there, right?
Sure. Oh, dude, yeah, and we both know that feeling. And but you said something. If I knew now what I know then, or if I knew then what I know now, so that kid, you would have been at 2016, so 28 or so.
Yep.
Okay, so you're 28. 28-year-old you calls you and says, "Hey Ben, I'm going hunting," and South Central Colorado. What's your advice to that guy?
Get in shape. There's no I don't know how to say it, but yeah, there's nothing that you could do more than just be in the best physical shape you possibly could when you're out there.
Cool.
That's 28.
As 26-year-old, he's still an asshole, and he goes, "Well, why, Ben? I'm in good shape. You know what I mean?" Because that's what 26-year-old he thought as well. So he says, "No, I'm in good shape." You go, "Okay, hold up."
Well, and that's what I thought. I was like, I was fairly athletic. I did sports through school. I stayed in shape, fairly good. I also, like, I don't know, the couple weeks before I went out there, I threw a backpack on and walked around the neighborhood. And boy, I don't even know if I did that much, but I went out there and I was just sucking wind, just trying to set up a tent. Things you cannot prepare for when you come from 800 feet of elevation, and then the next thing you know, you're camping at 10,000 feet. It's something you just really can't prepare enough for. And that's some of the things that, this coming fall will be my 10th season going out west, and something I know I can do better at. But yeah, getting in shape those, with at a minimum, 6 months before you're out there makes such a huge difference.
What's that look like? What's that look like as far as, you tell them, okay, this is your workout. Is it just, my advice usually is put a pack on and just live with a pack on and find the steepest hill you can in your general region and climb it a bunch. But
Stairmasters, whatever elevation.
Yeah, Stairmaster, find some elevation.
Build that butt up a little.
Yeah, that's just through your butt. Like it's funny, how much that those glutes just turn just to mush when you're out there. But what's the workout look like, man? You give them 6 months, you go, what do you do with that 6 months?
Yeah, you said it already, but the most important thing is to get your legs, your lower body in shape, and then your upper body just used to having a pack with weight in it. I follow some workout programs that I'm back into now.
Do you have anybody specifically that you use? We're good buddies with Adrian Adrian, who follows you, and originally
Yeah.
we do the Ridgeline athlete stuff, and then we messed
Yep.
around with some of the Mountain Tough guys.
Yeah, so him and I actually that's him and I met each other back in probably around that 2017, 2018 thing. He was doing a workout program and I won one of his like free courses. So him and I talked quite a bit back in the day. He helped me out. We did a lot of just simple workouts that he had sent me outlines for. And a lot of that stuff is I still follow that outline as much as I can. And he's such a good dude. He's fun to talk to. Usually right around in the fall, we're always kind of messaging back and forth. I don't think I've talked to him in the last year or so, but him and I message back and forth when he comes out west and stuff like that. But yeah, so his stuff, Mountain Tough is obviously a popular one. And there's certainly some other ones out there that are good programs to follow. But really, the main thing, if you're not going to follow any of those type of things, is to get your lower body in shape, step ups, hiking up hills as much as you possibly can, because nothing coming from 800 feet is going to get you prepared for 10,000 feet. But the more you can do, the better.
Yeah, and it's tough for us because like we've lived it in our whole life, and so people with that acclimation time, and it's hard to wrap your head around, but it's such a huge jump. So it's just, if you could just work that hard, just goes, that cardio helps so much, and then it just makes your experience so much better, especially for like a first time. It's like snowboarding, right? It's like wear something waterproof, don't wear cotton, because by 10:30 you're going to be so wet and so cold on a ski lift, it's not going to be a fun day. And it's like you're driving a long ways, or you're going a long ways for your 5-7 days, like
Yep. And
it's supposed to be sucking rocks and throwing up on top of a mountain day too.
Yeah, exactly. We can go on so many tangents with these things, but also just, a lot of these places that we drive to are anywhere from 18 to 24 hours of a straight drive. So it's hard to stay hydrated while you're sitting in the truck. You and one or two of your other buddies rotating every 4 hours, just trying to make as much time as you can to get out there. But you don't want to be drinking a gallon of water and you're having to stop and take all these breaks on the way out there. So you're kind of battling that. Like, of course you need to be hydrated. So I'll do a thing like, the week before I leave, I'll make sure I got a little calendar with I'll make a little check mark to make sure I'm drinking, so many ounces of water per day, kind of pre-hydrate yourself, which I think seems to help a lot. But no matter what, man, when you get out there, now it seems like a day and a half, I'll have a little bit of a headache. For sure that first night, maybe that second night, but by the full second day, pretty good to go.
Yeah, the hydration's key, like that pre-plan. I think it's like your hydration, you'll see it in 72 hours plus or whatever. So it's like, so getting that time ahead, but that's smart, because in my mind, I would never think about losing a day of travel.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's part of the day, I'll be there. Then you could really lose. You could really set yourself up for success or not.
Totally. And you're eating salty stuff on the drive. You're drinking
swollen up
caffeine because you're trying to stay awake. And so
I've actually never thought about that.
Now, like, inflammation's probably at an all-time high. And
you gotta
on straight up the mountain. You're like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. So you gotta factor all that stuff in, and then having an 18-hour drive, you gotta plan stuff backwards. The time that I leave, what time I'm going to get there roughly, because it doesn't do any good to get there at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, how does that compare to getting there at noon? Those type of things. Me and my buddies always kind of plan out to figure out like what makes the most sense to, make the most of our time. And, we're all, just about all of us in our group here, we're working adults. Most of us have kids, so we're all trying to maximize our time off. And, so all that stuff kind of factors in with, something that's 20 hours away.
Yeah. What's that group look like, Tribe? That's a big one for us. That's what we've been kind of touching on lately. And what's that look like? Who are you bringing out?
Yeah. So now it's kind of, it's been trimmed down. So like I mentioned, the group of guys that I started hunting with in 2016, there's like 4 young guys, right, in the 20s, but the rest of the guys are all our parents, or not my parents, but my buddies' parents or uncles, and they were all in their 60s. And man, that's another thing I touched on. That first time out there, I got ran around in circles by some of these guys in their upper 60s. They're way better shape than I was.
Oh yeah.
But so they're all in their upper 60s. Those guys have kind of hit their, unfortunately kind of hit their limit. We're like, I don't think we're going to do that anymore. So a couple of guys are still willing to do that if they draw a tag, but they're not going to, just a regular old over-the-counter unit. Really, it's kind of down to like, I call it like a rotating group of, 4 to 6 guys. But really there's like 4 of us that are going to try to go just as much as we possibly can. There's a couple of guys that will go every other year. But we got a pretty good group of, let's say 6 guys that will make the most of it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is, man.
6 good guys.
Yeah,
like
I'm super, like I said at the beginning, I'm super lucky to have those friends that were able to get me into this. And, I'm addicted to it now. To miss a fall out west would be something that'd be pretty hard to figure out how to get around now. I would have to do something else to fill that void, for say.
Have you pretty much focused just on Colorado, or have you guys started to kind of explore the New Mexico, Wyoming, Montana?
Yeah,
Utah?
boy, I've like I said, I've dove headfirst in this thing. I got it. I don't want to say I have it figured out because nobody has anything figured out, but I play the game as much as I possibly can. And now you throw in, like I said, like those 4 guys that are involved with it too. And now I'm kind of like the guy that helps to like kind of manage things out. You're
the engineer, baby. That's what everybody needs.
Yep.
Me and Tyrel, we bring the laughter, but we don't bring much else. We'll bring the good time, but we need the guy that's got it away together. Yeah,
slapping us around a little bit. Yeah.
I truly play the game. I learn as much as I possibly can with all these states. So for sure, we've been to New Mexico, Wyoming, Colorado, those 3 states. We also always keep an eye on how things are in Montana and Wyoming. I'm sorry, in Montana and Idaho, seeing how those things are going. But just today, I was texting one of my friends like, "Hey, you got 5 points in Wyoming, or do you have 4 points in Wyoming?" And I'm looking up draw odds to see like, okay, he could potentially draw this year, so maybe I won't draw a tag. I'll go with him. What are the other 2 guys going to do? And just trying to see where it's at, because if we're ready to talk about this or not, it is hard and getting much harder to hunt out west. And we've kind of figured out like we shouldn't go out there with 4 guys and 4 tags. We should go out there with 4 guys and 2 tags. And then, just kind of rotate these things, because really the experience isn't so much about who's carrying the bow or whatever. It's all about, really just the group of guys getting out there and being in good areas and having those interactions with elk or, whatever critter it is. So that's how we've kind of made the most of how difficult it is to draw tags is to kind of spread it out. And the guys now are okay with, potentially not having a tag in their pocket but still want to go.
I was going to ask you that, and you kind of answered the question before I got to it. But I think that's the beautiful thing about hunting out west for me is I've been on a lot of hunts where I don't have a tag in my pocket, and it's funny because you go to bed at night, and in your mind you're kind of like, I hunted elk today, and I didn't have a bow in my hand. And it's a lot like when I row guys down the river. If I'm rowing and I'm floating them on a drift boat, I'll go to sleep thinking I caught a bunch of fish, but I didn't catch any fish. But it's because you're part of that. And I think Western especially Western archery hunting feels so much more like this is really a team. Yes, one of us is going to pull that trigger. But at the end of the day, like it's really almost the same exact experience, just getting to be or maybe even better. Like I love calling for somebody else and trying to be the guy that pulls that elk in. And, it may be more fun than just being the guy that's standing in front of a tree waiting. Right. I get to do a lot more fun stuff. Me and the bull are talking and we're playing. And, I get this perspective. I get to move around. I get to look. I get to interact. And so I love that you guys are doing it that way, because I agree. When you go up in camp, you got 4 or 5 tags and 4 or 5 guys. Like the reality is if you shot a lot of places we go, if you shot 4 bulls, you're in deep shit, you're in really deep shit. And so, we've had multiple times where there's 4 of us with tags. Because we'll put in a group in Colorado, we'll apply as a group, which tends to up your odds a little bit.
Yep.
But for us, it's $65. So it's different than if you guys are paying now, $800 or so to come out to
Yeah.
Colorado. It's crazy.
Yeah, if you include the application, yeah, it's pushing upper eights on those things.
Yeah, and so it's, and also then why spend, 800 amongst four, get two good tags, and now you got 1,600 extra bucks to spend on fuel,
Yeah.
and hotel rooms on your way out, and you
Yeah,
can all
and-
experience that Western hunt.
And as our experience grew, nobody ever figures out the key to elk hunting, right? But like as our experience grew, and we kind of played the over the counter game while we were also building points in different areas. We went to Wyoming in 2022, and Wyoming was our first time we were like not in Colorado, and we were like, oh my god. There was one morning where we sat on a ridge and we counted 11 bulls across the valley, and we're like, we've heard more bulls this morning than we did in the last 3 years in these other areas. And as soon as we did that hunt, that was right before our Wyoming kind of changed up how they're doing non-resident tag distributions. I think at that point they would do 20% to non-residents, and following year they were going to drop it to 10% non-residents or something like that. So we're like, this is the time to go. In hindsight, we wouldn't have went out there. We went out there with 6 guys and 6 tags. In hindsight, we shouldn't have done that. We should have went out there with three tags and 6 guys. But 2 of the guys were like, this is the last. One of the guys was our good friend Danny. He's in his upper 60s. Like, this is the last time I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna. We kind of went for him, right? But we also drew tags too.
Probably pushed him. He was probably shooter most of the time then.
Yeah, and he was. We had 2 groups of 3, or sometimes 3 groups of 2, which is kind of disperse out along those lines. But that was our first time we were like in like a really good area, and we learned more in that hunt, in that trip, than we did in the prior 4 years of just your regular old. Let's see, at the time, an over-the-counter elk unit, because we're like, like we got to screw up 12 times. Like screwing up is how you learn. We screwed up 12 times that trip or whatever, but some large number. We screwed up a whole bunch. And we're like, all the years prior to that, if we got 1 or 2 encounters and screwed it up, we learned so much more in that 1 year in that really good unit. And it was just like your average Wyoming unit. And 2, it wasn't anything crazy. But we learned so much. And then after that, we were like, yep, I think it pays to maybe either skip a year or just spread out these tags and try to make the most of the experience and not worry about having who has a tag in your pocket. And I think after that, even the other guys were like, yep. So in 2016, people weren't, nobody would go hunting if you didn't have a tag in your pocket. And why wouldn't you? But now we're seeing how hard things are and then how good things can be in other like really good units. And majority of the fun is just being out there. And like you said, sometimes calling is more fun than some of the other things too. It's all part of it.
Absolutely. So you guys ended up putting the older gentleman as shooter. Did he get a bull? Did you guys get something that year?
He did not. He had a lot of encounters. And he could have shot like 4 cows. He had a cow, with a stone's throw away from him. And we're like, why didn't you shoot the cow? He's like, nah, I'm not shooting a cow. He was in like this general area maybe 4 or 5 years ago, prior to that, with a rifle tag. And I'm pretty sure he got a bull with the rifle that year, or, when he was out there prior. So he's like, nah, I'm not shooting a cow.
You tempted to come out with the rifle? Because that's the cool thing about Wyoming is you get to continue that season out in the
I mean, we were certainly tempted. Time is the hard part, of course. We had it. We thought we could figure out like maybe we could make something work where the first 5 or 6 days would be with the bow, and then because some of those units have a September rifle tag, where like the 25th of September you can pick up a rifle. But just the way that things work with life and work and things along those lines, we weren't able to make that work.
Yeah, we did. I keep thinking it's closer than it is, but we went to Utah. You drew a pretty sweet tag. Kind of lucky on that, and it changed everything. The way you looked at it. I mean, the amount of you just had so many opportunities. We were literally throwing rocks at a bull to go away one time.
Yeah.
And it's like I'd want to take that day back somewhere.
I do too.
We didn't leave with anything either.
We didn't shoot anything, but I mean he was a thick 5x bull. I mean, awesome. Big thick 5x bull, but there was a bigger bull behind him, and Yeah. But you're right. It did change. I mean,
those reps. You just can't put a price on those reps. Like you just, I mean, shit. I drew my bow back this year over the counter, and I was like pretty pumped. It's
just to draw
been
your bow
3 years since I've drawn my bow. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because you really want to make that one time count because
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
likely there isn't going to be another chance.
Yep. 100%. And so yeah, it's just funny you saying that because I mean the first couple of days I have a couple videos and we're just like, there's a bugle there, there's a bugle there, there's one there, and it's like,
yes.
and we're just like kids in a candy store, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Wyoming in 2022 was crazy. We were in bulls just about every day. We didn't get a bull that time. We had a lot of opportunities for bull. My friend Paul got a cow. So I helped him pack that cow out, and we're pumped about that. And then 2024, me and my buddy Paul, as a group, drew a tag in New Mexico, and it wasn't like your top tier tag in New Mexico, just your run of the mill average unit. I guess you say your average New Mexico unit. And oh my God, that was absolutely incredible. And so 2024, I finally got my first bull, and that was in New Mexico. I had plenty of opportunities in years before that, and made a lot of mistakes. Wounded a bull in Colorado years before that, but so finally last year, well, I guess it's now 2 seasons ago, 2024, got a bull in New Mexico, a really cool 5x4 with some some kickers and stuff on it.
awesome.
But yeah, my friend Paul, he unfortunately didn't get a bull. Tons of opportunities, a couple misses and stuff, but man, not exaggerating, we saw a dozen. That's too much. 7 or 8 350-inch bulls, and this was something that we just couldn't imagine what it was like. And that happened the first day. Paul and Jack were on a 350-inch bull, and we only know it was that big because we happened to talk to a guy in a parking lot that was like, they were just finishing up their first season, because Wyoming or New Mexico does that split, and he's like, "Yep, there was a 370 bull over here, a 380 bull over here," and they were New Mexico residents, and we're like, "How is these things really that big?" And he pulls out his phone and he goes, "Well, here's a 384 or whatever that I got out here 3 years ago." So I'm like, "Oh, this guy knows how big a 350-inch bull," and they were huge, and we saw them all over the place. It was an incredible experience, and so between New Mexico and Wyoming, we're like, "Yep, I think we're going to do whatever we can to to spread this out and try to get the experiences just to be in those really good areas, whether you got to take
the right approach, man. It's like if you absolutely have to go over the counter if you want to come out here, to Colorado. With they've changed the tag allocation, but I think for the most part you're still going to be able to get that out of state over the counter tags. There's so many available. They did changed it, but there's still a ton available. But I mean that's where our approach is going to, is wait till you get 2 or 3 points in Colorado, or 2 or 3 in Montana, or 2 or 3 in Wyoming, and then you can just start to sort of cycle those through. And I've had years. I had a year where I had, oh my goodness, I think it was the year we had that Utah tag. I had Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, and Montana archery bull tags, and I hunted pretty much straight 30 days. You know what I mean? I drove twice. I drove from one camp to the next, not cleaning any clothes, not doing anything, and just hiking straight up into camp for the next, meeting buddies. And that I felt like that it was, I mean, in theory, it's amazing, right? But I think in reality, not necessary. I'm not that good of a hunter, I suppose. I guess if you're good enough, you can do it. But to go to new areas, not know the areas, and learn, you just need that time to learn that area and hunt it well. And so that's kind of become our approach. It's like, let's just stack up not a ton of points, but just 2 or 3 here and 2 or 3 there. Because in Colorado, I've got buddies that have waited 23 years to hunt a unit, and then they go out and they shoot, a 340 bull or a 350 bull, which is amazing. But man, you miss 20 years of time with your buddies, and those memories in the woods, and there's not that many Septembers, and so I think that your approach is right on, man. I think those are the right states, and I mean, Montana's a good one too. Don't forget that. And I know you guys will get there, but I think that for those guys coming from the east out west is just start to play. We're putting together a little article from the Ruckless side about sort of a 5-year arc. To how to approach a 5-year window of hunting. So your first year, you may be stuck over the counter in Colorado, but it's a good way to come out, get your feet underneath you. Don't be afraid to shoot a cow. You're not going to get that many at bats. But then by year 2, now you're on a roll. Now you've got a couple points, and you should be able to draw, a decent Colorado tag again, or Wyoming, Montana, or New Mexico.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, absolutely. And like the folks that I talk to, that are like looking to do their first hunt or something along those lines, and not really knowing which way to go. Man, I just say go. That very first time, find whatever tag you can get and just go. Don't have any expectations, but just go. You're going to learn so much that you don't know, whether it's your gear, yourself, or anything along those lines. Maybe you don't even like it. But man, that first time, like you said, don't wait till you have 20 points. Hell, don't even wait till you have 3 points. Go when you have 0 points and just go. You're going to find out that these boots suck. This pack sucks. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, you have to do that before you get an opportunity. Like, hopefully at some point you get an opportunity at an elk, right? But you got to have all that other stuff figured out first, and you're never going to figure that out if you just don't go that.
I think you will have an opportunity if you have the right mindset. If you have, like in Colorado, it's usually neither sex tag. Don't be afraid of shooting a cow. It is just about as hard to shoot a cow as it is a bull half the time.
It's not guaranteed. There's been many seasons where like just take whatever is legal first, and sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yep.
And because you need those, like Tyrel said, those reps. I always think of it as at bats. Like, you just don't get many Western at bats on any Western animal. It doesn't matter what species. If it's an antelope, an elk, or a mule deer, you just don't get that many shots, right? I mean, with whitetail hunting, I'll go out, and we have a buddy that has a place in Oklahoma, and I'll pass 5 or 6 deer, and I'll just watch them go by, and it's like, you don't do that in the elk woods. And so, I love Oklahoma for that reason. You can shoot 4 does and 2 bucks, and I'll shoot for one. I love the meat, but also, like, a doe gets me just as jazzed up as a bull, almost, not quite, but it's still you have to settle in. It's a live animal. It's picking its head up. It's looking at you. It sees movement, and your heart rate's up, and it's just those reps. And so we've talked about that the last couple episodes. Is just find a place to get reps. If it's hogs, if it's anything, we were talking to Caleb Copeland down in Georgia. He's like, come out here. They're like rats out here. You can shoot as many whitetail does as you want. Yep. And I told young men, I'm like, go do that. It's drive down there and get those live reps. And then you're also going to learn how to, process an animal, take care of the meat, all those things as you're getting started, because you don't know what you don't know till you go try it. But that's a different thing, man. Let's touch on gear. Okay. So we're still calling our guy. He's 26, Ben. You're using all your same gear. Is there anything that you came out with that you're like, now since then, that you swapped out and you've kind of, I don't want to say upgraded, because I'm not encouraging guys to spend money, right? But that we'll just say we traded out for, that you go, this is critical that you trade X for Y.
Yeah, like, so that first year, I borrowed some equipment, that mainly just a pack. This was packing some of those things, and I didn't pack anything out that we didn't. Or my subgroup with it, didn't kill anything or pack anything out that year. The 2 years after that, I had a better pack, but it didn't quite fit me the way it should. And we did kill a bull, and we boned it all out. And if you ever packed out a boned out elk, you know how you just have this like morb, amoeba of meat in your back. And so we had 2 frame packs, we had a Mr. Ransom and Exo pack in the group, and then other guys had hope I don't mind if you're saying brand names in here, but like an Antelope and some other things that weren't frame packs. And there's 4 of us packing that elk out, and we had to rotate packs because the couple guys that didn't have like an internal frame or something like that just couldn't do it. And man, and if you're like, this thing has to weigh 140 pounds or whatever, but it probably weighs like 60. It's not that heavy.
I've done it so many times. You get back to the truck, you're like, and everybody,
you've got the scale in your weight, and you've been thinking about it for hours.
You're like, his is like, I'm 120, and I'm like, dude, I got to be 130. Then I'm so heavy, and you get back and it's 87 pounds, and you're like, I'm such a bitch,
Yeah, exactly. But so I mean, like, when you do finally pack something out, having something decent on your back with an internal frame, like I have an XL pack now, between XL and Mr. Ranch. Those things like that, having something like that fits you, and that can carry weight is is invaluable when you actually are doing it. Because if you're carrying some weight out in something that isn't meant to carry that much weight, man, you would pull $500 out of your pocket right then just to have that good pack.
Absolutely.
100% you would.
Yeah.
Boots, same thing.
Boots, yeah.
Right?
Yep,
Like,
exactly.
you would buy the boots on top of the mountain, no questions asked.
Yep, exactly. So I think a lot of people say it, but it's true. Boots and pack are hands down the most
Yeah.
important things.
That's always what we run into, guys. They say, get yourself a good pack and good boots.
Yep.
Don't wear cotton. I think that's probably the three rules, that I would say too. And even with packs, we messed around last year, and we have to do it. One of the guys on the Reckless team, I'm going to force to do it, but I want to have somebody do from zero to everything you need to hunt for $1,000, right?
Yep.
And we were looking at Facebook Marketplace, and there's a lot of those, the old school Alaskan external frame packs, and I would rather see somebody in one of those with a dry bag,
Yes.
bungee corded to it, than I would see somebody with something without an internal solid frame. You can't afford it. And they were $25 or $30. And I'm like, that's what I would tell somebody to buy right there. Just get that thing, it's not going to be as comfortable, but once you load it down with meat, you're going to be really glad you got that frame to strap everything down to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then like those, the original guys we went out with, like they had one of those in camp. Because everybody's day hunting. You're the furthest you're away from a road is probably a mile or two. But they always had one of those in the truck. So if you did kill something, you start skinning it out. Maybe take the back straps in front quarter, but then you come back and take that back, and then for your second load is when you bring that frame back in. All this stuff is completely. All that stuff is completely different if you're backpacking in and you're 8 miles in. Your whole gear list changes, and the quality, let's say the quality of your gear is completely different, whether it's a base camp hunt or backpack hunt. But man, so many times you hear a lot of stuff nowadays about like you have to be so far deep and you have to be, whatever, and that's not what we've seen. No. Like I said, this coming fall will be my 10th time out there, and the amount of times that like you're driving down the road with your window open and you smell elk, and you're like, oh, they're literally right off this edge, and they can probably hear you talking from camp. So like that, you don't have to be that deep, but obviously if you're on some wilderness line, that changes things. But I think we
go too deep, probably. Like I've gone way too deep, too many years. I think it's because I think part of it is we're seeking that adventure. And we don't have to drive, right? So for us, it's an hour and a half to the trailhead. And then our first couple of years, we went 12 or 13 miles deep.
Crazy assholes.
It just absolutely absurd, and carrying tons of weight. And the cool part was I saw 0 other hunters in there,
Yeah.
The bad part was my brother on one of those trips shot a freaking cow like the first 3 minutes of opening day. We're sitting behind some trees, and it's like we have these elk pretty well patterned up there, and I'm sitting like on the ridge, and he's to my left 150 yards, and we're like looking down on this little kind of funnel. And I'm just watching these cows go by, and I'm like, okay, there's bulls back behind them, and maybe we get lucky in a bull. And next thing I know, I just freaking hear an arrow go whap. And I'm going, what just happened? You know what I mean? I see this cow run off and die, and I'm like, shit. Now we're, you know what I mean? And I'm like, does he know we're 12 miles in this place? And like, we got to carry it out now, and good on him. I mean, it's, like we've said earlier, like if you can, and he's a killer. Like he's killed more bulls than I have, because he will draw his bow back and shoot, Yep. And I guess he got his reps. He's got his reps. But it's, you don't have to go that deep. And I guess, it's not my job to gatekeep the forest. Part of me wants to encourage young men, go deep, go 12, 13 miles, go earn it. And us old dogs we're going to heck in about 1.5 miles. I don't know what that zone is. I think it changes as pressure comes into those woods. But, there's one place we hunt really frequently that we are convinced that kind of 2.5 to 3 mile range. You go in just enough that the day hikers aren't getting in there, and then the guys that watch too much Cam Haines, you know what I mean, have gone 10, and I'm one of them, right? Have gone 10 to 12 miles in, and so there's a sweet little zone in there where where you can go find elk, I think.
Yeah, and of course that it's all variable, right? It all depends on where you are.
Absolutely, man.
In New Mexico, we talked to guys in the parking lot that were like, man, they had said like, this place is terrible. We hiked up over into the wilderness. There's so many people back there and there's no elk. And we were like, well, we just saw 6 cows go, just a couple hundred yards that way, like this morning. And we're standing in the parking lot at the trailhead. So it's like,
New Mexico's crazy.
I know the big W is attractive, but that means it's attractive to everybody else too. And and like I said, it's all variable because this last year, me and my buddy Paul were in an area where we were right next to a wilderness area, and I think we were just off by a week. And whether you were 7 miles into the wilderness or right by the road, there was just simply no elk there. So like everything is variable. If that was the middle, if we were there a week earlier, we had talked to guys that had elk there. So like it all depends, right? But
that's what,
right? That's all that matters.
Yeah, we've taken them this year. It's just like they're in our yard and they're at the top. And they're all in between, I feel like. And I'm no one to take advice for it, but I just I keep coming back you can hunt anywhere, I feel like. It's like if you're there and you put in the effort and you hunt hard. Yeah. And then if you're in a couple days and there's zero sign, it's like, okay, have a plan B. There's probably not elk here. And they might come here tonight, they might come here tomorrow, but maybe try somewhere else. But it's like they're everywhere. They're literally everywhere.
Yeah, well, they're everywhere and nowhere all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like betting on the Super Bowl or something. I mean, because Tyrel he went to an over-the-counter unit we've been in a ton and really gotten our asses kicked. And he goes in by himself opening day when you would think, okay, it's going to be full of hunters. And you were for the most part alone.
Yeah, I was alone where I thought it was going to be busy. And,
so
I was hunting elk right where I thought people were going to be camping, opening morning. And it was awesome. It was literally awesome.
Yeah. So I think that's the rule. You got to be out there, right? You don't know unless you get out there. And so, I think that's for that, because I think the big piece for me is always that young guy that's listening. Hopefully he's taking notes and going, okay, how's my approach out west going to be? If he's coming from your part of the country, or even young kids that are getting into it from here. So we touched on that. What other piece of gear, man, now that you've got that experience, my buddy, Bert Thorne, who that's how I met Adrian, was at a Winter Strong thing. And Bert's tip is always a toothpick flosser, right? I think he had a Western hunt where he had a piece of beef jerky in his teeth for 2 days and he's like going to lose his mind, and you're shoving your knife in every stick you can find in there to get it out, and you couldn't. And that's his little thing. What's kind of your 2 little tricky tips, things that you'd like to have with you that
the floss pick is a great, like you said, the floss pick is a great thing because sometimes there's no blade of grass or whatever that can get that little thing out of your tooth. And
you're taking your shirt apart. You're like taking a knife to try and pull thread out of your vinyl harness or anything you can find. But yeah.
I keep 2 of those in my pack, the lid of my pack all the time in there. But wind checker, you absolutely need to have some type of wind checker device. I've seen people use a lighter just to see which way the wind is going, but you need something.
That's a good tip. I've never heard before,
Yeah, you need something to be able to tell the wind because, obviously you guys know, but you cannot fool their nose. They can, I think we always say they can see you 3 times, they can hear you twice, but they're only going to smell you once. So you need something to make sure that wind is in your face all the time, and that could be, a lot of Midwest guys use milkweed. Drop a little piece of milkweed, and you can see where the thermals and stuff care. Wind checker, little puffers, or even just use your lighter. Got to have that on you. So you got to have that, and then I always have chapstick on you, because if your lips get chapped, there's nothing that can make that any better. And I try not to use it because I feel like as soon as you start using it, then your lips keep going with it.
That works on your ass cheek too, buddy. I've used a stick of chapstick on my ass before too, coming out of the mountains, and you're going. It actually was one I borrowed from Jay. I was like, "This is gone, but I'm so sorry, but I am chafing up a storm down there." And you just you whip that whole puppy out and just put it right up in there and just let it do its work, because
exactly.
That's one of my favorites. It's not just for the just for the lips. It'll be for the sack or the tank too.
Yep.
It'll
Yeah.
keep you from
So multiple uses on that one, but yeah, that's something that's always in my the little
yeah,
hip belt pouch.
yeah,
Just have some chapstick.
yeah. You got to watch those
I carry two of them.
little milkweeds are a little bit of a, they can really depress you. I had a buddy bring some out. He came from out east, and I don't know what it is. He had a little pouch, and he just like, I think I've seen the guys on like oh uh the hunting public kids. I
Yeah.
think they have some. I've seen them using on their videos.
Yep.
And he took one and he like threw it out, and it kind of went this way, and then it turned right the fuck around and came right back at it. And I was just like, welcome to the West. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You might as well sit down and wait an hour.
Up here, you know, so like just know that that's what it does. Like it goes this way and it goes that way, and you just gotta know, you gotta play your odds on that win game, because it'll get you bad, you know.
Yep. Yeah, so that's probably one thing. I made a little bow holder that goes on your hip pouch or your hip belt. Just a simple 1 inch wide hook with some webbing through it that goes up in the thing so that you can flip your bow upside down, and just hook your bow on there. So like, especially if you're like, road hunting or whatever, you do a big loop and you end up back out on the road and you got a mile walk back on the road, instead of throwing it over your, your shoulders, this thing, you can just throw it on your hook. The handle, your grip goes right on your hook, and then you just have your hand off.
So you hook on your handle. Is that what you're using?
Yep.
Yeah, or your grip, I guess, on the bow.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah.
You got like some big shoulders, so you do a good job of like balancing it.
Yeah,
But
my
I feel
bow
like
just sits on my back all the time, right?
I don't got the shoulders, and it's like my pack's usually a little high because my little body, and like,
And it's pushing on your neck.
and I'm watching you like dance in front of me, and your bow's just there all perfect. And I'm like catching mine all the time. And I'm,
Yeah.
I mean, my stable.
I need a hip belt hook.
Bow on, I mean, I don't even need a stable. I mean, I guess they do work, but I pick my stabilizer for my bow based on like its ability to hold my bow when I put it on my back, right? So like, yeah, the sight's here and my stabilizer's here, and it just kind of just sits there.
Yep. Yeah. You just hold on to the stabilizer, and that works really good. You just got to make sure that if you're using, whatever type of rest you're using, limb driven or something, you got another cord runner across there that doesn't get stuck on your, you got the frame posts that are
on
sticking up.
It's stuck out on my frame back before, and you go plink, and you hear it, and you're like, oh God, I hope I didn't screw anything up there.
Yeah. I've had it sometimes before where like, I don't know how the little hooks or whatever got like in and around one thing, and I had to like, hey, Paul, you want to help me get my bow off my shoulders? That's shit happens, right?
Yeah. No, that's good, man. Tell me about, and I kind of told you we were going to ask you this, but a belief we have, and a conversation me and Tyrel had coming into the new year was just talking about, as people are looking at goals and everything they're trying to do, talking about just changing your circle of men, or, I guess if there's women listening, the women you spend time with. But man, tell me how that's influenced kind of who you've become, where you're at in your hunting and just life journey. It really not just only about hunting, as a father, I'm a big believer in putting men around you that you believe are good fathers, good husbands, and I think hunting is such a great place to go to find those people. Not always. We're humans, right? So there's, you take 8 of us, and there's a couple assholes in the group for sure. But tell me how that's affected you, man. I mean, it's a belief I have, and I want to see, has that been true for you as well?
Yeah, it absolutely is. All the way back to just having the intro to elk hunting, right? It probably wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have had this, good group of guys and their extended family to just, kind of welcome me into those type of things. Those are the type of relationships or groups that you can't necessarily search out. It just kind of happen. But man, having that good group of hunting buddies makes such a big difference, especially on these Western types of hunts. I haven't been involved with any of these type of decisions lately, thankfully. But I know a lot of people that have been like, yep, me and my 3 buddies, we're going mule deer hunting, or we're going elk hunting, or whatever it is. And they've been, they're saying that right now in January, and then come August, none of them going. Or maybe one of them is like, I'm going, and all their friends back out. You hear that time and time again. And I was kind of thinking about this too. Like, now that over-the-counter stuff is, more or less going away, I think that might actually help some of those things, because, you have to make a decision now that you're going, and all your buddies have to make that decision too. Especially if, you're going to try pulling 2 tags or whatever number of tags, you have to make that decision. So that may help things, because, back in 2018, we had a friend come along that was planning on going with his own group of guys, and they all backed out. And he's like, I'm just going to go solo. And then we're like, you've never done this before. Come with us. And he came up with I think it was for 2 years after that. But like, his intro to hunting would have been completely different if he would have went by himself, or frankly would have never went.
Yeah.
So all those things matter. So having somebody or some group of people that are just as dedicated, and you can feel that out right away, especially with this, as a non-resident, this Western stuff. You can tell who's into it, who's not, because you have to do so much research, right? You're talking like, where are we going? What are we hunting? And that's the big picture, right? But then you come down to like, okay, we're hunting elk in Colorado in unit. Just pick a number, right?
Unit blank. Yeah.
Once you have that down, you can tell if those other guys are also doing the research and also kind of looking around on things like that. And that's not to say that if they're not looking, if they're a bad friend or a bad hunter or buddy or whatever, but you can tell who's really engaged into it or not. And that may be something you want to keep in mind for the following year.
Yeah, I think that's the physical side too. Right. And you've got like the physical piece, I think, has been a good sort of kind of weeding out process as well. So, say, okay, we know we're going to Colorado. If you guys have a group and say, okay, every Wednesday and every Sunday, we're going to meet and we're going to do a workout, right? Yep. And I think that's what I've found too for guys. It gets that buy-in throughout the year. For one, it's going to help them, and it's going to serve them in their lives. They're going to be better for it. But really going, okay, let's start training for this together then too. So I think you have that continual reminder, continual buy-in, to where you don't get to August and they go, oh man, I haven't thought about it. I haven't trained. I know it's going to kick my ass, and so they back out. And so I think we, for me and Tyrel, like, hunting has become really this kind of, it's kind of become the carrot on the end of the stick of, all right, let's get up in the morning, let's go ruck, let's sneak a workout in at lunch or do whatever we got to do to kind of be ready. And it's become a bit of a way of life for us. But I think that's a way for when you've got that group of men, you say, we're going to go on this adventure. Let's incorporate some training come, May or June at the very latest,
Yep.
To start getting ready to go. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That, especially for a non-resident, right? There's a large investment, both financially and time-wise, that a person has to take, or people have to take. And if you're not willing, if you're just willing to just throw $900 out the window and not really put the time into it, into yourself, you're not going to have a good time. You're going to be sucking wind, and it's going to be hard. You're sleeping in a tent or a sleeping bag, and you're wet, and it's we've been out there. You get that foot of snow on the 9th of September, and you got to be willing to do that thing well before you commit to going.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it, is like, you'll have those days where it's 9th, 10th, 12th September, and it's a foot of snow, and life sucks. I mean, it's hard. It really does kind of suck being out there. I don't particularly like sleeping on the ground. I don't sleep well. I sleep like crap. I tend to sleep better in the middle of the day with my head on a rock than I do on my sleeping bag most of the time.
Yep.
And so you just got to know what you're getting into, and but it does. I think it creates. I think that idea, that tribe, it creates such a good kind of brotherhood of men. If you can go out and you can go where you guys go west, but any adventure like that, but hunting especially provides such a good little environment for growth and for for friendships to grow in that way. And that's my favorite part about it, man. That's our whole mission from my end with Rucklist is if we can support other men getting out and doing this and getting that little adventure taste, because so many guys are stuck in that box, right? They work, they drive to work in the box, they work in the box, they drive home in the box, they sleep in the box. And it's just, I think a lot of men are craving what we get to do out here. Cool.
Yeah. And I should also say, like, thankfully I haven't had this experience directly, but I know, like, a person's best friend might not be a very good hunting partner. The guy that you've met once at an archery shoot may turn out to be the best hunting partner. Those type of things. I have friends and acquaintances where like we probably wouldn't work out very well if we spent 10 days, including 40 hours sitting in a truck on a hunting trip.
Yeah.
We'd be at each other's throat by the end of it. But I also know of guys that I've literally met once, twice for 20 minutes that like, yeah, I think we'd be just fine getting along and hunting and kind of pushing each other. Because it's hard out there. I mean, this last year was one of the hardest Septembers we've had in the elk woods. And it was just me and my buddy Paul. We heard one bugle all week. It rained for 5 of the 7 days. Like it was tough, but like maybe we were complaining a little bit in the moment, but we still had a fantastic time out there. We would still go to that same crappy unit again this coming year if that was our only choice to go. We would absolutely do it, and we'd probably have a little more success, hopefully. But like you have to enjoy the adventure of it. And if you're not willing to have a little bit of the suck involved or the adversity, things like that, then like I said, maybe that's something you try once and you don't do it again. But the vast majority of people that
I've got a number. I've got 3 or 4 of those guys that have come to hunt camp with me or fish camp. I had a buddy, we were telling a story the other day where, I was so pissed off. But I mean, we had a hard side boat and then we had a raft we had to fill up. And we get out in the morning, we're on the river, and we're putting the raft together, pumping it up, and it's not even for us, it's his raft. I mean, we've got our own boat. We brought this so he could go fishing with us. And he sits down and grabs a cup of coffee and sits in his lawn chair and just watches us. We're pumping up the raft, and I'm looking at my buddy, and my buddy's losing his shit. You know what I mean? And we're looking at him, and I was like, he's never coming. He will never come with us again.
Yep.
The nicest guy, funny, good time.
Yep.
But I think that's the thing in camp. I mean, how about that, man? I mean, you're the new guy in camp. I've got my own kind of rules around that. But, how do you show up as the new kid, right? You take a new kid in camp, what do you expect him to do when he shows up?
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it before, but like a lot of that just stems from, months out ahead of that. If they're not texting you back or not part of the group text, or if they're not sharing pins, or if they don't have an elk call, just some of the very simple things, you can tell right away that, that maybe one end of the spectrum is like they don't know enough to even know, right? But like I said, man, you're spending $1,000 in a week of your time. There's got to be some motivation behind there to be really engaged and involved with it. So you can kind of feel those things out from the get-go. But yeah, in camp, we have a pretty good group of guys, right? And if we have 4 guys out there, we go 2 and 2, usually 2 and 2. And like those 2 guys, whatever they want to be, they should have similar hunting styles, right? Like one group can be dark to dark, and the other group can, hunt the first 4 hours, come back to camp, and then hunt the 4 hours in the evening. And either one of those are fine. But you probably shouldn't mix the 2 guys who don't hunt that same way, right? There's going to be some disagreements at some point in there, and disagreements are okay. Tensions are high. Even us and our best friend for the last 15 years, like there's at some point we're going to get at each other's throat because that's just what happens. But to be able to get over that and realize you're just in a stressful situation is something you can get over with.
Yeah. And it's that hunt camp dynamic is magic, and it's critical that everybody brings their A game and they're doing their best, right? If it's that whole just idea, chop wood and carry water, right? And it's literally true out there, like go find wood and carry water. Because that's your 2, especially because we're spiked in quite a ways, and it's, those are your 2 things. You just let's find some wood, have a good fire, and where's the clean water at so we can have something to drink. And so that's what I tell young guys. I'm like, dude, just be as useful or as you can, and show up as capable as possible in those woods. And it might even involve camping. Just go out and try your gear out. Go spend 2 nights out in any woods. It doesn't matter what the woods are, because you're going to find the holes in your gear list. Out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I did that. I didn't do that my first year because I was so green to the things, but those years following that, like you have to practice with your gear, like taking your tent out of the box, at the truck, at the trailhead or whatever is probably not the best thing to be doing, especially because the thing could be broken or missing pieces. But definitely try out your gear. I think I usually start my first pack right around 4th of July. I'll start packing then. Just like, I've been doing it for so long, so I don't necessarily have to do it, but I still find ways to like optimize the gear, see what fits a little bit better. Or every year while I'm out hunting, I have everybody has a phone, right? We always carry a phone, so I have a running list. So like in the moment, if I think about it, I think like I add a note like, this thing sucks, or next year get a better sleeping pad. Like I make the notes as I go. So I guess that's another little tidbit that I've done before. Make the notes while you think about it.
That's kind of where Ruckless was. That's why we're making the app, right? I mean, that's the whole idea, is that we can be a resource for guys like you and myself. I mean, it came out of me being an idiot, and forgetting stuff, right? And I was like, I just need to be better. And also, it seems like no matter how good you do, every year you kind of come back in, like you said, July 4th, you start to look at your pack and you go, okay, what am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting something. And it never fails. You get to the trailhead, you're like, I know I'm forgetting. It's just, you might not, but it's just that stress, that anxiety of having that. So I go through that too, but that's why that's not to plug Ruckless. I guess that's what we're supposed to be doing. It's not a commercial though. I mean, it's just real. It's like, it's why we're doing it. Cause it was a major, kind of thing for me, is going, that whole kind of like optimizing the gear for the hunt. So that when you leave, you have confidence, because there's so many other question marks when you leave the trailhead, right? It's like the last thing you want to be thinking about is your gear. And so, no, man, I completely agree. Dude, we've had you on you're doing a good job. I looked up, and it's an hour and 15 minutes here, and I appreciate that. What else? Anything else you have? How about this, dude? This is not hunting related. 26-year-old Ben hasn't had kids yet. What do you tell him about kids, fatherhood, and marriage? What's your advice to him, man? Looking back now and kind of know what you know, like, what would you tell him? What would you tell him about being a father, being a man, and being a husband? Like, what kind of give him?
Good question to put me on the spot, but first thing that comes to mind is if you thought you were a patient man now, you're in for a surprise on how fast your patience can go right out the window. And that's just life, right? That's not a dig on anybody, and not a dig on myself, but
no.
And I used to think I was the most patient man, pretty calm, cool, collected. It took a lot to get me rattled, but boy.
And then you step on a Lego.
Right. Literally a 2 and a 4-year-old can push that button right away and just make it, red hot right away. And
I know you see those commercials that say never shake a baby, and you're like, that's absurd. Who would ever shake a baby? And then you have one, you're like, oh, I get it now. I get it now.
Yeah. There's things that you just can't be prepared for. And so young me would just be like, just take it easy. Everything's going to be fine. In the moment, those things are hard, but afterwards you'll have to look back and you're like, did that little thing really, not little thing like little human, but just whatever that is, like, did that thing really get me all riled up for no reason? And so that's something I continue to work on as just as a father and husband.
Yeah.
Just let things go.
I think for me, patience is, I don't know. That's when you learn quick, or you learn, that you were lacking or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'm
pretty, I've been pretty patient my whole life, and
kids,
never fought like you guys, growing up and stuff, and more Adam, but and then that's ongoing all the time. Just that patience. Of just
where do you find that patience, man? I mean, where does that? Where do you go to find that as a father? You go, okay, you take a 5 and just let the kid. You can't. That's the problem with kids, is like you can't just walk away.
It's hard to walk
away. You're like, it's hard to walk away. Like shit has hit the fan. And you got to stay right in it there, and you're losing your mind on this side, but you got a responsibility on that side.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, when you put a kid in a timeout, most of the time it's like, I'm the one that actually needed the timeout, not necessarily the kid, because I needed a minute just to cool off, because you're going to say something you don't mean, whether that's verbal or anything else. But sometimes just taking that step away is what you need to do. And we all continue to work on it every day, don't we?
Dude. And it doesn't, I was going to say it doesn't get easier. It does in one way, and it gets harder another way when they get older, right? is when they're 14 and 16 or 14 and 17.
You're just battling a different
Bro,
little
now
battle.
they've got tools and they're little savages,
Yeah.
and they can do it on purpose. Now they're testing. They're always testing,
Yeah.
but when they get older, they're really trying to fill you out and going like, oh yeah, you mean that? You know what I mean? Because you go like, one more time, I'm taking your phone away for a week,
Yep.
And it's like, okay, are you really willing to do that? Right.
Yeah.
We call it, my wife, Jocko. We call it the Jocko. We had a friend that was friends with Jocko, and this is not my story. It's third party, but essentially Jocko, his son did something stupid, and he took literally everything out of his room but his mattress. He goes, and his door, everything was gone. And my son heard that story, and I was on a hunt actually. My wife called me, and she's like, I Jockoed Logan. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I took everything. It's like scorched earth in there. You know what I mean? And there was a while when I would leave, and he would really, something about, just that dynamic of having mom and dad in the house. And he seemed to really act up when I was gone, which really hurt me when I was hunting, because I felt like, dude,
Yes.
am I hurting my wife and my kid for being gone for, 2 weeks here?
Yep.
Yes, probably. Yep. I mean, I probably am actually a little bit. That's a tough one to swallow, right? Knowing that you're going to go chase something you love so much, and your kids are sacrificing for that dream as well.
Yeah.
But he seemed for years there, he would just kind of lose it, and not bad, but he got full Jockoed one time when I was out of town. It's like I'm home and his room is just a bed, you know what I mean? And some books, you don't have to take the books away. He wasn't going to read those anyway. You know what I mean? But everything he loves was gone and locked up. And, but yeah, it's, and that kind of just brought up that thought too, man. It's, this hunting dream, this thing we all love so much. It's, it's hard, man. It's hard on the kids. It's hard on your family. And it's, I really start to feel that when hunting season gets closer, I tend to say no to everything and get every little minute I can with my wife and kids. Right. And really start to bank those snuggles, bank that time, bank that, you want to go have ice cream, whatever with my daughter or my son, and just get those minutes with them, because, I feel bad being gone as much as I am sometimes,
Yep. Yeah. And this is, I guess, something we haven't touched on quite yet, but I mean, especially for, us, the Eastern folks, to go out West, you're gone for at least, if you're gone for two, weekend to weekend, you're looking at 9 days. And, somebody's running the house at home, some people are, whether you have kids or not, you're still leaving something behind. And, my wife is super supportive about it, but, there's a cost to that. Right.
Right.
And, not a monetary cost, but, she works just as much as I do. She, so when I'm gone, she has to leave work a little bit early to pick up the kids. Like, there is a lot that has to happen at home just for me to be out hiking around the woods, it's as simple as that. They do a lot. My wife.
Have you been able to kind of give her something to like say, hey, can I get you a week? You go do what you want to do. Have you got any kind of solution there around that, so that you give her that break?
We've been trying that. So like 2 years ago, I take my vacation and she could take her vacation. We've kind of done those things. Last year, I did the September thing. Actually, her and I went on an antelope hunt together in October. That we can get into a whole other story on that adventure. So we try to break that up, and then in the summer we always do a vacation together, just her and I. Some of the parents watch the kids. Lately, we've been doing a whole bunch of national parks in the summer. So we get out. She loves the mountains just as much as I do, so we try to get out and do some hiking and things like that out in there. So the summers, like you said, try to fill that bucket. It's spend as much time as possible together. And now that the kids are getting a little bit older, nothing, like you said, nothing really gets easier, but certain things get easier. The whole picture is always hard, but certain things of those get easier. And now, like, there's things with the kids that you don't want to miss. So like, I've slowly been dialing back some of my weekend excursions. I used to do just about an archery shoot or some type of event every weekend. And last year I dialed that back, and I'll probably dial back a little bit more this year. Just so, like, as a family, we'll spend some more time, because when fall rolls around, we're always pretty busy.
When's your wife going to go elk hunting?
I don't know if she'll go elk hunting. I think we got her building. Well, we did the antelope hunt this last year. She had a blast with that. She got her antelope. So I think we're building up some mule deer points. I got a pile of mule deer points, and actually we were just talking about this last week that like ideally, let's see, I got like 6 Colorado mule deer points. It would be like ideally, and so does my buddy Paul. So like ideally, maybe like me and Paul go out one year, kind of figure it out because we've never done it right, especially with rifle.
Yeah.
Their time frame.
We'll talk offline about that.
Yeah. So I was thinking like maybe I go out, me and my buddy Paul go out, kind of figure things out a little bit, and the following year, she can draw a tag, and we can kind of make that happen. So I'm the one learning and screw it up, and she can kind of come in and tag along to have a little confidence in myself, guiding her, right?
Oh yeah. Dude, and I love that. Freaking love rifle hunting for mule deer.
Yeah.
I love archery elk, and I went coyote hunting for the first time with a buddy. I was like, I love this too. I don't know what to do. I'm in trouble. I got a problem, but mule deer hunt with a rifle, it's so different, right? In the way that it's just a lot of glass time, and it's just really, it's different in the way that you get to really settle into the mountain. To me, it's the difference between like bait cast fishing versus fly fishing.
Sure.
Where when you're fly fishing, you're looking for that one rising trout, and you've got to kind of become really a part of it. And you are an elk too, but elk feels a little bit more. You're listening, and then okay, boom, you go, and boom, you go, and you're moving. And that rifle mule deer hunt, it's just a different vibe. It's that kind of chilled out. You're still going to probably cover some miles, but there's that moment of get there, sun's coming up, and you're just looking for those little shiny spots on the hillside. It's God, I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And glassing is something I really haven't done a lot, mostly because you haven't had to, right? Usually, depending on where you're hunting, it usually isn't even open enough to see directly across the valley with your glass. So archery elk, you don't really have to do any of that, at least the places I've been. So that would be a completely different ball game to actually sit down and try to be patient instead of the active go. But I feel like obviously when you're walking around with a bow in your hand in September, you stumble across a lot of mule deer. Like you can tell, like, all right, I'm gonna rise up over this. There's a little bowl with a whole bunch of aspens in it. I bet you there's a mule deer in there, and you kind of peek over and you're like, oh, yeah, there was one.
Sure enough.
But boy, as soon as you have a mule deer tag in your pocket and a rifle over your shoulder, you ain't gonna have that.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot too, because I haven't drawn a mule deer tag yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're everywhere when I'm elk hunting, so this shouldn't be bad. I know that time when I go to actually mule deer hunt, it won't be the same.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Dude, tell us.
So that's
the
another thing we're just trying to, another puzzle piece to throw in there is like, well, now that we got a few points built up, is there a year where like, because we only get so much time out west, right? You can only take so much time from work, time from family, things along those lines. So I'll probably have to, I don't say give up an elk hunt to mule deer hunt, but if there's a year where like, all right, sure as heck ain't gonna, we got a 2% chance to draw in New Mexico, 7 in Wyoming, there's other things like that. I don't have any in years to come. I won't have any points in Colorado, or elk points in Colorado. So maybe that's the year to pull that mule deer tag. So another puzzle piece in there to make sure we're getting at least one adventure out west.
Yeah. Tell us about the antelope hunt, man. We got some time. Tell us about the antelope hunt.
Yeah, we'll make a long story fairly short because the hunting story is actually the shortest part of it. My wife and I drew Wyoming antelope points. We took, it was originally we planned on taking like a Thursday through Monday, as far kind of like a long weekend. Thankfully,
which should easily work because there's more antelope than humans in Wyoming. So
and we had some intel in the area, which obviously helped. But so we were out there mid-October, got drove straight through there. It was foggy and raining the entire way out across the Dakotas into Wyoming. We woke up the next day, still 30 some degrees and raining, and this is in middle October. And the week before it was 75 degrees. The week after it was 75 degrees. So we just hit that window. We camped like in a campground in a tent, and so we drove around that first morning just looking for antelope. Didn't see anything. We caught one little break in the rain, and we're like, let's head to the campground, set up our tent. We just barely got our tent set up and just started downpouring again, and we sat there from 9 until 1 o'clock, just pouring rain. We're like, and cold, right? And we're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is how it's going to be. And like every time you look at the forecast, it says it's going to clear up in the next hour, but it just keeps adding that next hour onto it. And then I think it was around like 2 o'clock. Jenny, my wife Jenny's like, why don't we just drive around? Yeah, what a great idea. So we just started driving around and looking for antelope from some of these chunks of BLM and things like that. And it lit up a little bit, some rain, and we drive past this one little chunk of public and look over. There's two bucks and like a bunch of does. And we're like, oh, that's on public. I think we can make a move. So I figured out which way the wind was doing. We spun around the truck. We drove past them into a little valley. We made a stalk. She made a perfect 220-yard shot. Dropped it. Awesome. Awesome. We got an antelope down. A decent buck, not a monster by any means, but any antelope is a great one, right?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, we got it. I like doing the gutless method on elk and everything like that. So I was like, I don't care how close to the road we are. I'm just going to do this here. So 45 minutes later, we had it all basically corded up and thrown in game bags, threw it in a backpack, and it started pouring again. So we caught a perfect 2-hour window in there to get an antelope.
Awesome.
And we were only quarter mile from the truck. It poured all night long. At camp, we finished deboning it all out, and it just basically cleaned everything up because we're like, first I was like, nah, we'll just keep it in the quarters, keep it cold. We'll have plenty of time. And Jenny's like, well, we got nothing else to do. We might as well just finish cutting it all up and get it in bags and in the cooler. So thankfully we did that. And then here's where the story gets crazy: is we woke up the next morning to 5 o'clock or whatever, and Jenny's like, why is my sister calling me? And we're like, uh-oh, this doesn't be good. So my mother-in-law is at home watching our two sons. So we get a call from my sister, or from my sister-in-law, and she's like, Mom just had a heart attack. And we're like, oh my gosh, where are the kids? Is she okay? Like, just so many questions start running through your mind. Mind you, we're 16 hours away. And my mother-in-law was watching our two boys had a heart attack at her house. Like, holy crap. So thankfully, everything is the end of the story here. To cut to the end, everything is fine with my mother-in-law, but she was having some health issues, and she's super healthy to begin with. This is the last thing we would have expected. So the ambulance came and got her. She was able to call her sister, our other aunt, to come over there and kind of watch our two boys while we're 16 hours away. And we're like, well, obviously we're throwing all the shit in the truck and trying to get home because you got two aunts. Now that there's two aunts, the other aunt came over to help watch our kids. Well, my mother-in-law got rushed into the hospital to have bypass surgery done. So okay. Yeah, so that was quite the shock. For something you don't expect and you don't even want to think about, what could have happened with a 2 and a 4-year-old. Nobody, what 2 or 4-year-old knows how to unlock an iPhone and call 911. We're good friends with our neighbors, but I don't think my 4-year-old would know to go over to the neighbor to tell him grandma's not moving.
Right.
So you start thinking of all these things like how bad it could have been. But thankfully, prior to having anything serious happen, she was able to get a hold of her sister, our aunt, to come over and help watch the kids. So then we're like, throw everything in the truck, we're heading home. So our antelope trip was only, a couple hours long. Thankfully, we got one. Yeah. Of course, that's, it's just a bonus on top of it. We're happy that my mother is still here with us. But yeah, so jumped in the truck and basically full throttle at 16 hours all the way back home.
Adrenaline the whole way.
Yeah,
just unknown.
Yeah. But then we're getting about halfway across one of the Dakotas. We're into Minnesota. We get another call from the other aunt that's watching our kids. And she's like, the other aunt, they're outside playing, and the kickball tripped and fell on the road and hit her head and started bleeding all over on the road with her head, and the ambulance had to come again. So within a So within a couple hour period, while we're trying to make our way back from Wyoming, my mother-in-law and an aunt both got picked up from our house in an ambulance. And like Jenny and I looked at each other and we're like, is this even happening right now? Like, how is this even
Yeah,
possible?
yeah, exactly.
And like, obviously the story is wild and thankfully everybody's okay. But these are things you just cannot prepare for.
No.
You know, and now we know, like, you know, we didn't do anything wrong, obviously. But we're like thinking, like, how could we make this better next time? Like, for some of these unexpected things. So, you know, going back to the fatherhood and parenthood things, like, okay, I think a 4 to 5 year old is getting to that age where you can start instilling some, you know, some emergency plan, and maybe they might actually start to understand it. So since then, we've talked to our neighbors and things along those lines, and kind of got on some mutual type things. Like if something like this were to, you know, this is obviously a very extreme, rare case, but if there was something like this that would happen.
Yeah, but it happened twice in 12 hours. You know, that's just.
Yeah. So then,
No.
you know, like I said, everybody's fine. Everybody's back to normal. Thankfully, everything worked out as good as it could. You know, our neighbors came over and helped. You know, we had a really good little neighborhood with a lot of good folks that were willing to help out. But yeah, for a while, there were like a lot of neighbors were like, "So you were in Wyoming, and you're the place that had the 2 ambulances come over?" Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it was kind of the abbreviated version there, but yeah, it was the antelope hunt got cut short, but again, that was just the whole, you know, that was a bonus that we got an antelope and we're able to do that. But you know, more importantly, everybody was fine back home, and it was a wild 18-hour window there for a while.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Do the antelope, we're gonna have it mounted? You got anything?
We didn't
Like,
mount it.
you talk about kind of the stories, but it's like that one's a big story every time, you know.
Oh yeah,
like,
exactly.
with antelope.
Yeah, so we'll just have like the European mount, and it'll be, you know,
Okay, good.
sitting down here, and we're going to be like, every time we see that, you're going to be thinking about that story that goes along with it, and is
picture the antelope there
without it
Awesome.
sounding weird, but like everything worked out well. Like we had a 2-hour block where the rain stopped. We made a stalk. She dropped it in its tracks. Like all that stuff just worked out so well that we were able to do that. Thankfully, even that night when she was like, "We got nothing else to do. Let's finish cutting and deboning this thing up." We deboned that thing up. All we had to do the next morning was just ball everything back up, shove it in the back of the truck, and go.
Wet mess when you get home. You're setting your entire camp back up in the yard, aren't you? To get it dried
exactly. Because you know, everything's all wet. So yeah, there was a whole yard sale in the front yard getting everything dried up.
We got to get.
That's crazy. That's scary. That's the fear you have when you leave town, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Something happened and you're far away. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not going to stop us from, you know, going on our vacations or whatever. Our mother-in-law has since watched our boys by herself while we were going to a Packer game or a football game. So like it didn't stop us, or like, you know, like, oh no, always have to have 2 people watching the kids. Like it didn't make any rules like that change in the house, but it definitely changes a little bit of the perspective of like things can happen, and thankfully they ended as good as they possibly could. But now you have some things in the back of your mind of how can you better prepare, and you know, as our kids mature, we're going to make sure that you know, plans are in place. So it's something like
right?
happen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you for coming on. I pushed you a little bit longer. I know we're taking time from your wife and your kiddos, and super cool to talk to you. I could tell from what you post online there that it'd be a good conversation. I was really looking forward to your perspective of kind of a guy that's on your part of the, you know, in your part of the country coming out our way. And so, you know, before we wrap up, man, how do we support what you're up to? You know, you put some content out there. You know, what's your goal? Are you trying to, you have your little archery shop? Are you trying to, you know, help people out, or how do we support you? How does our crew support you?
Yeah, I mean, so if folks want to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, it's Midwest Mountain, which is MTN, Midwest Mountain Outdoors. Don't really have much goal with it besides, you just keep it fun and real. And I've met so many fantastic people, whether it's local or distance, like you guys. I've met people all across the country in these last, I think I've been doing this for like 6 years online now, between Instagram and Facebook and stuff. I've met so many really good people. Some of that stuff always, for whatever reason, my Facebook page kind of blew up this last year, for better or for worse. So you get a ton of crap, right? For lack of a better term, but it's real easy to find the real people, to engage with and frankly become friends with. I've met a lot of good guys, and girls all across the country that it's fun to follow along and support each other. So yeah, really no goals with it. Just keep it fun and real. I like, as much as I like showing people things, is just as much as I like learning things as well. It's I love the technical side of bows and tuning and tinkering and gear. I'm a gear nut and gear junkie. So yeah, no real goals. Just keep it fun and real. If people want to follow me along, certainly can. Shoot me questions. I'm always willing to help out as much as I can. Sometimes I won't have an answer, but I love chatting with people, and to you guys too. Thanks for having me on. This is a ton of fun.
This is great.
Yeah, this is awesome, man.
I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah,
We do too.
it's fun, and
yeah,
the different perspectives, and dude, you got a great aura, man. It's been really fun to chat, and best of luck with it all, man. It's so fun.
Yeah, thanks. I'll be following along and looking forward to chat again.
absolutely, Ben. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, man. Go get time with the family. Appreciate you. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again.
All right. Talk to
Thanks,
you.
man.
Oodle-lolly,